You will never make $1 million in a year. Truly realize that the more you play this game, just how physically and statistically impossible it is. The goal for most of you is to earn $1 million in a year. That means that all of you watching, at least 99.9% of you, will never become a millionaire. It should be this hard. It should be tiring. It should be boring. It should be borderline psychotic to do what the 99.9% of the population does not want to do. If you can't even juggle all three, the chances of you becoming a millionaire are very thin. Statistically speaking, the easiest way to become a top earner is to get a degree, but most of you will take the easy route. You'll have no direction in life. You're cruising through life on mediocre mode. You're living that cycle. If you can't do these three I'm putting in front of you, which are relatively easy, right? It's just gonna take a lot of work. You're gonna have to use your brain as well. 99.9% of everything you touch will probably fail. You're gonna want everything in your body to just quit. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Most millionaires built their wealth slowly over time, regardless of what you saw on TikTok. The average millionaire worked, saved, and invested for 28 years before hitting the $1 million mark. The people who reached $1 million net worth in 20 years or less are what I call baby steps millionaires. It's the same method I use to get out of debt and reach a household net worth of $1 million in 10 years. Building sizable wealth is typically a slower burn, a crock pot rather than a microwave. There are some key factors that help baby step millionaires boost their net worth faster than normal. When married, help speed up my net worth timeline. And two people can get more done than one. And you gotta keep tabs on your income, and you've gotta work on increasing it over time. So working side hustles was huge for me in my financial journey, from build unnecessary expenses and avoid lifestyle creep. Now I'm a millionaire, you've got to stay allergic to debt. Just like millionaires never carried a credit card balance in their entire lives. And compared to investing 15% of your income into tax-advantaged retirement accounts like a 401k, there is someone with a net worth of $1 million or more. And guess what? All the Ramsey baby steps actually ended up paying off their home in about 7 years. It's amazing.
Phone and just delete any app that looks like it could take a second of your attention.
The difference between someone who becomes a millionaire and someone who's just getting by lies in their obsession with closing this gap. Most people's paths look something like this, up and down all over the place, and they never reach their end goal. A person who becomes a millionaire in their 50s will have a path a bit more like this. I think the only reason I managed to bridge this gap was because I didn't have any other options. I made a promise to myself to become wealthy as fast as possible. The amount of money you make is always directly proportional to the amount of perceived value you give. The bigger the problems you're able to solve, the more money you'll make and the faster you'll bridge the performance gap. The trap that most people fall into is only considering one of these factors when they're deciding what they want to do with their life. That's why the only solution to becoming rich and happy is to find something that's in all sections. I managed to find this early on by combining my passion for model helicopters with my skill for building models. The problem with the way most people look at business is they want to find the side hustle or the method first, the time in. Your initial side hustle should have the potential to rake in about 100k a year. Investing isn't about overnight riches. It's a tool to grow your wealth. No one has ever lost any money if they've held for more than 20 years. If you want to close the performance gap, then you need to understand the difference between obstacles and excuses. Looking back on my younger years, boy, did I have it rough. You may also be facing huge obstacles in your life, but you must make it your mission to overcome them. Excuses, not obstacles, are the single biggest reason for people never closing the performance gap. Whenever someone says to me, I can't do something, I say this, I know you can't right now, but if you could, what would you do? Most people fail to bridge the last section of the performance gap because when they leave school, they stop learning. This experience taught me practical skills on how to persuade others to pay for my services. Each new piece of information builds upon the last. If you never stop learning, you'll accumulate a wealth of knowledge by the time you reach my age. Wisdom can only be acquired through time and experience. If you never had the foundations, then you can't start the compounding knowledge magic. Closing this performance gap is going to be painful. If you aren't willing to make sacrifices for your dream, then your dream becomes the sacrifice.
They don't want what we know out there. What does school teach you about money? And the answer is nothing. And that's not a mistake. I knew that. Most people know that. The way to keep the poor and middle class working hard is never teach them what the rich know. Our academic system's so corrupt.
You asked your dad when you were a kid, Dad, You asked your teacher, when are you going to teach us about money?
What is financial education? It's not get a job, work hard, save money, and invest in a well-diversified portfolio. The financial industry is two things, debt and taxes.
Saving money will make you rich.
Yeah, it never will. Why would you save it and why would you work for it if they can print it faster than you can work for it? The rich don't work for money.
Once you give someone a paycheck, their brain turns off. Most poor people confuse assets for liabilities.
An asset is a noun, like a house.
The number one expense for most people is taxes. And yet we don't even see it.
The rich don't work for money. Its number one expense is tax. See, there's three kinds of income: earned, portfolio, passive. Passive income, which is cash flow, is never taxed. The average schmo out there, poor guy, sent the kid to school. They don't learn this. Never say, I can't afford it. You don't know if something is an asset or a liability until you can say which way the cash flows. The US government wants me to provide housing, wants me to provide jobs. If people understood the tax code, we'd be more prosperous. It's an attitude.
An attitude.
The reason I have so much money is because I don't say I can't do it. The people that say I can't afford it, I can't do this.
Stop saying the word can't.
Intelligence increases through your mistake.
Honestly, I wouldn't even think about investing in stocks or crypto unless I already have a solid skill that makes me lots of money.
Today I'm going to teach you one of the most profound concepts that I've learned in my life that has helped me become a millionaire by the age of 27 and a multi-millionaire by the age of 30. You've heard of the term, get rich quick. Somehow in a society that we believe if you make your money, if you build wealth quickly, it must be something shady. You better hope that it is, because you don't have time to get rich slow. Wealth is not just measured by how much money you have. Wealth is measured more in time than in just money. The question is, are you rich? No, because it took you 40 years to accumulate $1 million, to make $1 million. Now let's look at a different scenario. Let's say you still make $1 million, but instead of taking you 40 years, you make that same $1 million within 12 months. Now you are a millionaire. And the cool thing is this, when you make your money in a relatively short period of time, guess what? Now you have more time to enjoy it. That's the only difference. That's why wealth is not measured in how much money you make, it's how fast you make that money. $1 million a month. The person who makes $1 million a month is 12 times richer than the person who makes $1 million a year. Rich people, we value time more than we value money. Poor people, they value money more than they value time. And that's why if there's something with my Bentley, an oil change, or I gotta go do something or fix the car, I'm not gonna do it because it's not worth my time. My time is much more valuable. You might be thinking because you are rich. That is not true. Most people never get rich because they never value their time. So do you want to make it quick or do you want to make it slow? If you're serious about making it faster, not the traditional path, do you make it faster? If you're millionaires, how we think, how we operate, how we do business, how we do marketing.
That Americans would need $500,000 to feel financially secure and $1 million to retire. On commission, my income was extremely inconsistent, so I spent months seeing potential properties. I lived as though I was broke and spent as though I was making the bare minimum. Depreciate in value, I only spend the money that my investments make. I don't buy designer clothes. Experience, most really successful people don't have an income problem. By cutting back on what is not absolutely necessary, you'll be putting yourself that much closer to reaching $1 million. The second, if a certain amount of hours, most likely you'll plateau. It was really up to me to utilize my time efficiently and create a schedule that maximized how much money I was able to make. Personally, I'm stable while being able to earn more money, just willing to pay anything possible to find the right. 3, realistically, you're also going to have to invest your money. The fact is it's not going to be possible if you're earning more money, if you're willing to put in the time. Third, once depending on how involved you want to be, like with real estate. If you're able to save up,
or you can become a player. but you can.
Let me share with you my net worth, my 2020 overall dividend passive income, and talk about is my dividend income and my dividend investing report for going to buy a stock, because I want to show you all of that. But the goal is paid out in Bitcoin, but I can 0.04 Bitcoin, which is roughly valued at $1,426, and that's, so here's my Robinhood portfolio right here, a little more than $3,000 a month. That's because there was a variant. I want to look at stocks that people aren't necessarily buying. So I want to look at tech. That's because there's too much cash in my Robinhood account and I need to work. So I'm showing you all the money that I have invested in the stock market. Total is $329,000. Now my cash $1,000 scattered somewhere that isn't shown here, tax bill that's due, and B, but this brings the grand total net worth to $2,195,457, and that's not actually buy a house for myself, and see where that takes. Showed you my net worth. Let me share with you my
idolizing. When I was in my 20s, I had a lot of fangirl energy. That you can be excited for something and you can have respect for something without lowering your status, without give my power away to a lot of people. And I learned that the moment that you just stop idolizing things is also the moment that you create a lot more peace and freedom for yourself. You can doubt your work, but you shouldn't doubt yourself. I think it's completely normal to question the quality of your work, whether that's you. Even if you are questioning your work, you shouldn't question yourself ever. I often made was I made my work mean something about me as a human being. And it led me to a dangerous path of self-sabotage. Important for you to be able to separate your self-worth from the work that you're producing, especially if I want you to do things while you're still excited about them. A beautiful naivete in your 20s because you're experiencing life as an adult for the first time. It's your first decade on something for too long. It's like leaving fresh food out for too long and it becomes stale. And when for my 30s is when you are most excited about something, whether it's an idea that you have, whether it's in your 20s. Especially in your 20s, you have so much more time to recover from your mistakes. You have so much that I ever took in my 20s was leaving my well-paying corporate job at 23 or one decision. I was able to make a lot of money for myself in my 20s, which was amazing. Live my dream life on paper. Thing and fuck around with life and see what happens. Because it could lead family, ask questions, collect the stories. My grandma passed away. You never know when life will end. And that's a really sad thing.
So let's see. If you were to invest $100 a month from age 25 to age 65 or age 30 to age 70, 40 years, $100 a month. Let's put it in a Roth IRA so that it grows tax-free. I'm going to recommend a good growth stock mutual fund that has an average annual return of 12%. Now, some years it makes 18 and some years it makes 4. But the average annual return is about 12% for 75 years. Now, I know some people think that can't happen, but this is an example to help you understand how numbers work. My 401k has been funded. My Roth IRAs have been funded, and anything else I could fund has been funded. I figured out that I would have more to give and more to live if I saved and invested. You have no idea where your money goes. And you make more than your parents made. You make more than a lot of your friends make, and you make more than any other country in the world, virtually. Personal income. And you're freaking broke. Just establish here that you can find $100. Latte breath. You spend $100 on things you don't even realize you did it. The reason they check your receipts at Costco and Sam's on the way out the door is not to make sure you didn't shoplift. It's because it's federal law. You spend $200 or you're not allowed out. $100 invested every month. Every month. From age 25 to age 65, averaging 12% in a good growth stock mutual fund. And you are under 40 years old. And you don't retire with $1 million, that's no one's fault but yours. It's your fault in this country if you retire broke. You work your butt off your whole life, and you have nothing to show for it. Average household income in America today is $50,000. If you say 15% of that, that's $7,500 a year. If you do that in your 401k with no match, into Roth IRAs, into good growth stock mutual funds, you would retire with around $7.5 million. Well, shut up unless you do something about it. Because my set of assumptions have made me rich. It's time for you to get up off your assumption and go save some money. If you start at average and you don't get a raise for 40 years, you are a loser. Losers in our country can retire millionaires. You can't give to anybody because you're too freaking broke to help anybody else. You want to find out who needs help? Get you a mirror. You need help. It's time to save money, people.
So you want to keep investing in your business to get more leverage. The whole thing is leverage. You could just have one of these that are really to leverage a medium. He made $1 million last year. He bought a business for like $10 million cash. He sold it a few months later for $11 million. You can really take, advantage. The more you have these, the easier it is to keep moving up this ladder. You want to climb the ladder of success. Stack money. Use that as leverage to get more money. The skills compound. Skills compound, and you can never lose skills. You keep repeating it. That cycle. Making $100,000 is fucking easy. It may seem hard to you because you don't have enough leverage. You need something on one of these, right? It's skills or money or something. It's the easiest level to hit. It depends on the leverage. It's all about this. The powers are money, people, media, and skills. You too can ball.
Most of you will not hold on long enough. You should feel like wanting to quit every single day. You're drained across the board, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And you have to compound all these other exterior factors. You're physically tired. It's been 3-4 years. Can you sustain that same momentum? You either die or you evolve and survive. It is not the smartest or most intelligent or strongest species that survive. It is that one that is willing to adapt to change. The more pressure you put on yourself, the harder the tasks are. You want the next level, you want the 10 million. Every level has its set of challenges. You just hold on for dear life. If you made it to the end, you probably are part or getting close to that 0.1%.
Things that made a huge impact for me reaching millionaire status early. Incomes with one focused vision is a magical thing. Right, you need to talk to your boss about what a growth plan looks like for you and your role. Feel like you're not making enough for your current job? It might be time to have your cake and millions too. You gotta make some sacrifices. A study of millionaires found that most millionaires never carried a credit card balance in their entire life. Less than 15%, you risk coming up short in retirement. And if you go the right way and be intentional about paying it off early. Taxes shouldn't account for more than 25% of your after-tax income. I know that's but this is what it takes to build wealth with peace, paying off that mortgage in 15 years or less. In fact, people that follow the Ramsey Bay money at the principal balance every month. Our initial goal was to double our payment. So if you're more odds and become a millionaire before you're 40, even before you're that, starting from broke with $40,000 in debt on an entry.
To me, is not a part-time thing, is not a full-time thing. It is an all-the-time thing.
The sooner that you can get everything that you've wanted, the sooner you will realize that none of that shit actually matters to you. The quote that I heard from Naval Ravikant, and it goes, "We have two lives. The second life begins when we realize that we only have one." Even though I made multiple millions in my 20s, I checked off all the boxes, it wasn't until I did all of that where I had this epiphany that none of that stuff actually mattered to me. It allowed me to live a more meaningful life or start living a more meaningful life. I am so grateful that I learned that in my 20s. And it wasn't the house, it wasn't the Chanel bags, it wasn't the Porsche, to get to that realization requires a lot of privilege. And the sooner that you can become a person of privilege, the sooner that you can create peace in your life. And you can, to me, hustling and grinding and accumulating all of that in my 20s, now I feel so grateful because I'm entering my 30s and can spend more time with my family and my friends while I'm still young and while it requires a lot of privilege. And so you want to be a privileged person sooner, then you may want to just work hard to get what you want and learn that life lesson sooner for yourself. And this is hope that you can do that. But I believe for most people, they won't learn this lesson until they actually get everything that they want, until they realize how empty they are, until they have all the money in the bank and they realize what they actually want is to spend more time with their mom and dad. sooner that you can know this, the better. Next thing is a projection. This video is a projection. I am projecting onto you. I'm projecting my beliefs. I'm projecting what I feel is important. I'm projecting my life experience onto you.
Fair, I'm trying my best, and
It's your fault in this country.
Visualization, and it turns out that we've been lied to, because financial success, I want to cover several things. The first is I want to show you all of that, but the goal is to have enough to break it down into the 3 different components. That I'd like to be paid out in any other currency I want. Advise customers to join their platform, which is why, see, he agrees. Now in the upper right hand corner, it really encourages you to keep on going because you videos as a video journal to keep myself accountable. And if that journey sour our future selves, the Andre Jick of the future is looking back at the Andre Jick of today and is back to the future. He had the foresight to take care of his older self because he needed the money. I live way below, reinvest that money and continue following good habits, which is ironic without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping to get me here. And as always,
the best thing you can do is get that money away from you and into investments as soon as possible. That's what I did when I was younger, and I made a rule never to sell my long-term stocks. I'm now at the point where these investments make me around $17,000 a week in passive income. Once I invested my money, I never saw it as mine. It lit a fire inside me that you wouldn't believe. I was always hustling for more. It's like a boxer who's training in some beaten down old gym. If you want to start investing, then firstly decide how much of your income you're going to invest every month. Don't make it an exact amount, but instead a percentage. If you invested $250 a month in a low-cost index fund and got an average annual return of 10%, then in 40 years you'd have over $1.5 million. However, the S&P 500 index fund has actually given a 10.98% average annual return over the last decade. It doesn't really matter what you choose to invest, just make sure it's an amount you can stay consistent with. Here's a fun experiment my son's been doing. It's Trading 212 app to auto-invest £5 every single day. After about 10 months, he's already made £164. The app also gave him a 12-month value projection when he started. He's bang on target to hit it in a couple of months. This is the biggest thing stopping you becoming rich. You might think you fear failure. However, in reality, you're probably more concerned about how others will judge you if you fail. Taking calculated risks is the only way to get ahead of everyone else. If you're just doing the same thing as the majority of people, then you're going to get the same results, right? These risks might not always pay off, but luckily, when you're younger, you have one huge advantage: time. This is the most valuable thing you have. If you have this much time, your fear level should be at their least.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It should be that hard. You should feel like wanting to quit every single day because 99.9% of other people feel the same thing. You're drained across the board, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and you're failing. Can you sustain that same momentum? You either die or you evolve and survive. It is not the smartest or most intelligent or strongest species that survive. It is that one that is willing to adapt to change. You want the next level. You want the 10 million. Every level has its set of challenges. You just hold on for dear life. If you made it to the end, you probably are part or getting close to that 0.1%.
Credit card debt. It's crucial to eliminate this debt as soon as possible.
And you were saying, man, I want to be an all-the-timer. You gotta be.
Feel financially secure and $1 million to a single penny if you have the goal of calling yourself a real estate agent, so I could do that full time, even though I'd be doing this too. So I spent months seeing potential properties in business. They saw an unfulfilled niche and created a solution. There's no such thing as a free lunch. For me, I enjoy the investing in the stock market through a well-diversified index fund because it's really that anyone could implement immediately. Cut back as many expenses as you possibly can. You need to survive along with some discretionary and determine how you can make more money. Look into switching careers, learning a trade, taking on a side hustle, or starting on a buy a multifamily property like a duplex, triplex, or by saving that 20 to 50% difference, you're going to be on track to $1 million net worth. If you do this once, it's possible to reduce your housing expenses. If you're 20 years old and you want $1 million by the time you're 30, you'll have to invest $4,750 a month. If you could find a way to average $120,000 a year before taxes while living off $3,000 a month, you could achieve that goal. If you're able to save up $50,000, you could use that to buy and renovate a $250,000 a strategic renovation should be able to increase that property's value. If you're able to replicate that strategy every 18 to 24 months left over, then you'll have to increase your income. Building up a $1 million portfolio is all about the numbers. By lowering your overhead while increasing your income and diligently investing the difference, you could work backwards to be a millionaire in 10 years.
Most successful people you look up to have failed hundreds of times before achieving success. You can't have one without the other. Success is just the reward you get for enduring and learning from failure. So if your scales look like this, then stop worrying and overthinking things. Be brave and seize the opportunities that come your way. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect curve. Most people never get off Mount Stupid. This isn't because they're lazy or unintelligent, it's because of their arrogance. They believe getting rich is down to luck, when actually it's a learnable skill. It's a never-ending process of learning and applying. Even at my ancient age, I still do my best to learn about what's currently going on. This allows me to spot opportunities before other people of my generation. So remain a student for as long as you can. This is a long process and you have to earn your stripes. You can't just jump to the finish line, so learn and respect the process. If you get into the habit of constantly learning, then I guarantee you'll make far more money. If I didn't know about crypto back in 2019, then I wouldn't have invested a small portion of my portfolio. But we're taught the opposite in the Western world. We're told to go to school till we're about 18, then choose a college or university. This approach to learning is completely broken. The world is progressing faster than ever. If you want to keep up, then you need to keep giving your brain software updates. Computers, if you don't keep updating your brain and keeping it clear of viruses, which in this case is outdated.
You can have a job, or you can have a career, or you can have a calling. If you can somehow figure out how to have a calling, you have hit the jackpot, because that's the big deal.
The difference between him and I is I was laughing, scoffing, and jesting at him. He was already applauding himself, going at the right way at the perfect time.
Do something you're very passionate about, and don't try to chase what is kind of the hot passion of the day. Ultimately, I decided I had to give it a shot. I didn't think I'd regret trying and failing. And I suspected I would always be haunted by a decision to not try at all. After much consideration, I took the less safe path to follow my passion. It may be the kinds of gifts you get, like, you might be really good at math. Practicing that math and taking it to the next step, that could be very challenging and hard. You can't really be proud of your gifts because they were given to you. You can be grateful for them and thankful for them. Choose to work hard. You choose to do hard things. Those are choices that you can be proud of.
It's the choices that define us, not our gifts. You can never be proud of your gifts because they're gifts. They were given to you. You might choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. When you're 80, which one of those things do you think you're going to be more proud of?
Never been a better time to be alive. Insane, the amount of change and invention and opportunity. Your life, will you use your gifts? What choices will you make? Will you follow your passions? Will you follow dogma? Choose a life of ease or a life of service and adventure? Guard your heart against rejection, or will you act when you fall in love? Be a cynic, or will you be a builder? You're very lucky if you have a career. A lot of people end up with a job. If you don't love your work, you're never going to be great at it. Jules, will you use these gifts? And will you take pride in your gifts or pride in your choices?
A lot of people want to get rich. You're not going to go from being broke to balling overnight. There's levels, and it's very difficult to skip the levels, if not impossible. It's a simple formula. If you do not follow this formula, or if you try to skip steps, you'll never even come close to reaching the elite levels of financial stability. So level 1, start off with this guy and he has nothing. Maybe you got to fight with your hands, but the level's easy and now he's got a gun. However, the level's a lot more difficult. Without the gun he got from being level 1, he wouldn't even be able to compete on level 2. Well, I want you to know that that's life, especially when it comes to balling is all about leverage. And there's 4 different forms of leverage. The 3 types of leverage are first money, people, then he said media. Those are the 3 forms of leverage. I'm going to add a 4th one, which is skills, talent, or knowledge. If you have some cash, some income, you can do more things with this. Money will buy you a lot of things. For example, Kim Kardashian, right? She can make $1 million like this week by just doing a post on Instagram for a brand. Skills is a great form of leverage. He was taught the skill of being an amazing wide receiver. That skill he was able to translate to multiple millions of dollars in the NFL. DeMarcus is just a guy and he doesn't have any resources. He just got to use time. So he starts working for another dope dealer.
Financial success is because we set good habits, we live well below our means, we invest the difference of our income, and follow those good habits consistently day to day despite the highs and lows of life. It's so cool to look back at myself from 1 year ago and compare that to where I am today. Doing this consistently for the better part of the last 8 years is what allowed me to sit right in front of you right here. I want to show you all of that, but the goal is to have enough diversification so that any one of these sources of income would disappear, I would still be able to feed my dog Rita is gonna stay around for a long, long time. So we have to be a value conscious investor, and to snowball is real, and it continues to pay me even more through dividend raises. Last month, a little more than $3,000 a month. That's because there was a work, so I'm gonna have enough of Apple. So review that sooner, but it really in tax bill that's due. And B, but this brings the gloom, not like your actual income, because that's not your seeds that you will then sprinkle all over the soil, which will sprout my little dividend income that I had, what little I had to empower me. My means, that's why I don't buy my reinvest that money and continue so far. And I could not have done it without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping to get me here. And as always,
I want you to get a job, finish college, and work on your body. You should be able to juggle multiple things at once, and to sacrifice time, and to be great across all those 3 things. You're gonna be a true slave. You're gonna have to use your brain as well. Homework. You have to process information. You're gonna have to learn how to learn. You're gonna have to learn how to take notes. You're gonna have to learn how to execute on ideas. You're gonna have to learn how to be disciplined enough to put timelines on yourself, right? It'll take life experience and a bunch of trial and error. You're gonna wanna quit. You're not just sitting stagnant.
For most people, they won't learn this lesson until they actually get everything that they want, until they get the promotion and they realize that career's not for them, until they get that dream guy or dream girl and they realize that this is not the relationship that they want to be in, until they buy that big ass house and they realize how empty they are. If you are in your 20s, this is my advice to you. Number 1, build up your assets in a very specific order. I became a millionaire when I was 26. There's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, I started a business that ended up grossing over 10 million Canadian dollars in its lifetime. But more importantly, number 2, I learned about the different types of assets that exist in life. A mistake that a lot of young people make is they are in such a rush to build up their financial capital. The truth is unless you are a trust fund baby and you already come from money, if you are someone who comes from lower income class family or middle income class family like I did, you need to be playing a whole different game. And that game is understanding the different types of capital. First type of capital that you should be building up is your intellectual capital. This means with all the money that you're making and the time that you have, you should be investing in yourself. And for example, when I was 16, I think I paid $12 to read my first personal development book. It was called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It completely changed my life. It changed the way that I navigated relationships, and it brought me a lot of opportunities, even just learning how to communicate. Nowadays, there's even better books out there and way more resources. But what you want to be doing is, if you don't have the money right now, you should be reading books, you should be listening to podcasts, to YouTube videos, to expand your knowledge and more about the world. Once you start making some money, you want to try to invest that into courses or mentors that can fast track your learning.
In order to be a king, you must first be a pawn. You respect your elders, and hey, you can be a king one day, but in order to be a king, you first need to be a pawn. I learned what it was like to work with clients, and quite frankly, for lack of a better word, be their little bitch boy. You have to earn your fucking stripes. There is honor, there is nobility in starting from the bottom of the pecking order. You can get a 30-year-old that dresses like that looks like a 20-year-old. Don't spend crazy amounts of money to have all these labels that you can kind of hold your own in any room. The market will tell you how good you are. You need something external in your life to humble you. You are in your building phase. Keep your circle small, but your influence large. You should have very few friends. Always be very polite and courteous to people. If you can't, he will take it away from you. So you need to understand that God, if he blesses you, if he gives you that million at a young age, he's gonna see if you can handle it. God will put you in your place. Invest early and invest as much as you can. You are your worst enemy. People just think you're lucky. There's nothing wrong with wanting beautiful women around you. There's a way to do it. There's a time and a place. So I hope this has been of value to you, and I'm rooting for you.
Times have indeed changed, and so have the challenges young people face today. Yes, our generation worked hard, but that doesn't mean young people aren't working just as hard today. Jake is juggling school and a job and planning for his future. The world is honestly more complex now. The path to success isn't as straightforward as it used to be. We need to support and encourage the younger generation, not belittle them. They're the backbone and future leaders of this world. I wish I could tell you I changed his views on youngsters, but honestly, I reckon my words pretty much entered one ear and went right out the other. Some older people are just so stuck in their ways, but we're not all like that. This whole experience with Jake really got me thinking. There must be thousands, actually probably millions of young motivated people like Jake out there. You're just a kid having mindless fun, and the next 10 years you're stuck in a classroom being taught mostly useless information. It's only when you hit your 20s that you step into the big bad world and start figuring out how to earn money. So when you see 20-year-olds driving around in Lambos on social media, it can make you feel pretty bad, but don't blame yourself for not having it all figured out yet. The school system didn't prepare you for the real world. Really and truly, you're just getting started. If this sounds like you, then don't just focus on earning millions at this stage. You need to obsess over sharpening your axe. Lots of people skip this part of the process and just try to start a business. However, they're doing the equivalent of trying to cut down a tree with a blunt axe. It's simply just not going to work. So how do you sharpen your axe so that when you go for the big money, you can easily cut down a tree with a few strong swings? Well, it all comes down to mastering high income skills. These are the skills that can make you at least $10,000 per month. Some great examples nowadays are video editing, copywriting, high ticket closing, and software development. The amount you can make with skills like these will change depending on supply and demand, but mastering one or two of these skills can put you in a really great position.
I generally just stopped kind of investing into status objects.
The ability to make sacrifices and almost put your body as second, your mental health at second, because you're willing to make that sacrifice. Most of you will get filtered out by just understanding how difficult it is to get to the six-figure mark.
This video is intended for someone who's actually serious about it. If you do what the majority of people do, then you're gonna get the results that the majority of people get. When you start to get these in line and then you go out and you work them, you have to work them. There are no secrets, there are no shortcuts, there are no gimmicks, and that luck is not a factor. A millionaire is in control of his own mind, and he does not buy into this idea that somehow by luck he's going to become wealthy and successful. To become a millionaire, what you need to do is you need to take full and utter responsibility for absolutely everything in your life. Most people could work till they're blue in the face on their career for decades and they'll still never be millionaires. You have a thermostat in your brain that actually has a set point for what you're earning per year. Millionaires have a different mindset and a different philosophy. A millionaire is going to value education. He's going to be a lifelong learner. Empowered. You can't just go out there and create an extraordinary business or generate some sort of product or do something good for the self-made millionaire. Doesn't become a self-made millionaire just because he's chasing after money. If you're working a 9-to-5 job, very few 9-to-5 jobs will allow you to rise to millionaire status. You have to become self-employed. You're gonna have to start to worry about value. You have to start asking yourself, okay, how do I make the transition? You need to be generating lots and lots of value in the marketplace to be earning lots of money. High value means high return. Low value, low return. What are you putting out as far as value into the marketplace? You're not gonna get there through some sort of, lucrative investment, lucky investment, some secret stock tip, or winning. You have to take this, you have to embody it, you have to start to live it. You need to be constantly working on yourself. Especially as a millionaire, you need to become a bigger and bigger and bigger person's responsibility, create more value for the world. And then you're gonna get that value paid back to you. Keep pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself.
To master a trade, we believe you ought to work 6 days, 12-hour days, because instead of mastering your trade in 5 years, which is 10,000 hours, 2,000 hours per year, a lot of people got upset. That's not healthy. Why are you making the new graduates work that way? This is kind of what it takes. If you want to condense, keyword, time for some people use the word, chunking. For the journalist who want to get off at 3 o'clock and go have their drinks, so you shouldn't work that hard. It's not healthy for you. It's going to mess with you. This whole thing about hard work is not good for you. Says who? Says the person that wants to play it safe. If that's what you want to say, and I got another person here that's willing to bust their tail to have their dreams become a reality. Hi. He says, I had practice in the morning before school started. I was chasing a dream, a vision to be in the NBA. In 20 years, I never took a vacation. He says, we certainly showed a lot more partying than we did. It was hard work. How's he doing today? Maybe the most hated guy in America, but you're going to be pretty hated when you're worth $100 billion. No matter a certain single person that's worth that kind of money, that's loved by everybody. Moral of the story is this. A formula I followed years ago is proven for me. You may not like it if you're a journalist working for New York Times. This may upset you, but it works for those who want to accelerate their speed of learning. It's essentially the great equalizer of going up against people that have a lot more experience than you do. You ready? It's very simple. You may miss it. It's simple. Outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, and outlast. If you can outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast, it's going to be very, very hard to compete against you. Years ago, titled, How to Go Up Against the Goliath of Your Industry. There's a secret about point number 14. When you watch it and enjoy this episode, smash thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
It was recently found that real wages have barely budged in decades. More than half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. The poorest 70% of U.S. households don't even have a savings account. Americans would need $500,000 to feel financially secure and $1 million to retire. I was able to build $1 million net worth by the age of 26 years old. I had about $5,000 saved up. I decided not to pursue college and instead use some of those savings to get licensed as a real estate agent. So I spent the next 4 years working 10 to 12-hour days, 7 days a week. I took saving and personal finance extremely seriously. I budgeted every penny that went into and out of my account. I treated every dollar as though it was the last dollar that I would earn. I noticed my wealthiest clients had begun to invest in real estate. I was able to purchase 3 bank-owned properties. I continued reinvesting as much as I could. I began making a lot more money. That allowed me to purchase a 4th property in West Los Angeles. I had reached $1 million net worth by the age of 26 years old, so you need to save as much money as possible. It doesn't matter how much money you make, but instead how much of it you actually get to keep. Most really successful people don't have an income problem, they have a spending problem. By cutting back on what is not absolutely necessary, you'll be putting yourself that much closer. Pick a career that's not dependent on how many hours you work. Employees who switch jobs every 2 to 3 years make twice as much. Most people that you hear about who are able to make a lot of money relatively quickly do so by starting a business. You're also going to have to invest your money. If you want to save your way to $1 million in 10 years, you're going to have to put away $273 a day. Investing $4,750 a month is easier said than done.
You start off with nothing. You have no leverage. You don't really have his skills. All you really have is time. He starts working for another dope dealer. He spends less than he earns. DeMarcus can start buying drugs in bulk. He can buy more than he can sell. He's like buying bricks. He starts selling to these guys. He doesn't even need time anymore. I started building my social media. I started learning how to use Google ads. I kept building my skill set. I had to really get good at Facebook ads. Skills. Keep building my exposure on social media. Keep investing money back in my business. I probably had like 20 employees. Every level, when you get something, you want to use that to get to the next level. So you want to keep investing in your business to get more leverage. You want to climb the ladder of success. You can never lose skills. You keep repeating it, that cycle. You need something on one of these, right? It's skills or money or something.
Well, I love his hunger and his industrious spirit. Like white on a rice cake, I want to give you guys a more realistic picture. I want to start things off by pointing out what a lot of people don't have the patience to internalize. Trust me, I got my identity stolen when I was in my 20s, and I can join Delete Me on a 1-year plan for less than $9 a month. Attack our financial goals as intensely as Guy Fieri attacks his family. You don't have to get married to become a millionaire. I know plenty of single people who are kicking butt and taking names financially. And let's separate the wants from the needs and then get debt out of your life ASAP. It is a must. Make a plan to knock that ish out. And if you want it to be a stay-at-home mom one day, we could handle it financially with no stress, cash without worrying about payments. And if we wanted more about the specifics of how I reached $1 million net worth, be sure to check. We'll see you next time.